we're talking about Luis Ortiz versus Deontay Wilder. What a great fight. Just a quick summary. Incredible KO by Deontay Wilder. 7th round KO. I had him losing all 6 rounds up until the end. He scores a KO, a beautiful finish. I had him losing that round as well. So I had him losing the 7th round as well. Deontay Wilder, one of the best KO artists in the history of boxing. We are watching a living legend at work. You guys should make sure that you follow his career. He's a very special fighter. He only has 1 draw in his entire career. That's versus Tyson Fury. We all know who Tyson Fury is. 6'9" monster. So many great, exciting heavyweight fights on the horizon. We have Andy Ruiz versus Anthony Joshua. This weekend, so many great matchups. I haven't been this excited about heavyweight boxing in a long time. This is some really interesting fights coming up on the horizon. Will these 4 fighters cross paths? Absolutely, it's gonna happen, and hopefully we'll review the fights on this channel as well. In my opinion, Luis Ortiz was doing fantastic. Strong potential to win that fight. What happened in the 7th round? He landed some nice strikes. Nothing overly successful, but he did have Wilder stunned a little bit. He hit him with a hook to the body, then he hit him with a hook to the chin, then he hit him with a couple of body shots. He threw an overhand left that missed, but had Wilder on the ropes. Wilder circled out. Ruiz went up against the ropes. He kind of chased him instead of cutting off the ring. A big mistake. And just being between those ropes and that cross, that right hand of Wilder, I thought was a huge mistake because he wasn't in that position the entire fight. And when you have a fighter up against the ropes, it's just easier to find your strikes. And he landed his devastating right hand. Up until that point, it didn't seem like he was going to be able to find the place for that right hand. It didn't seem like he got even close to hitting Ortiz. Ortiz's defense was super sharp. That was my analysis, guys. A small little mistake. Wilder found a small opening, and the KO was devastating. The KO was just something special, something extremely unique. For those of you who haven't seen it, go check it out on YouTube. It's posted up on YouTube. One thing that's really rare about that KO is he kind of hit Luis above the head here. Kind of, I would think it's in this area, kind of in the forehead. And usually when fighters get hit here, it's rare to see them go out or get dropped like that. Usually what happens when you get hit in this area, not the temple per se, but like this forehead area, you'll see a sparkle. You'll get maybe a little bit shaken up, but you won't go out, like you won't get dropped like that. You know, this is a very sturdy, powerful part of your skull. Now I've seen people get knocked out here. I have. It's just, all I'm saying is it's extremely rare, and this is one of those times where he got flattened out really badly. I did play the KO earlier. I won't do it now because I won't want to mess with these buttons. Okay, so now I'm gonna open it up to you guys. How did you guys see this fight? Comments and questions, and let's get it going. I'm very impressed with Ortiz's counter game. That's from Static Unit. Yes, his whole punching game was fantastic. He was conservative. He was calculated. He had his chin down the whole time. His defense was excellent up until the end. His parry, his slipping, his counter punching was fantastic. He wasn't overly active, which I think was smart. You know, he wasn't giving many opportunities for Wilder to find that right hand. And he had a flawless 6 rounds. Wilder versus Ngannou. Who would win with their lack of technique made up with their touch of death? Underground Ambassador. I wouldn't say they lack technique, okay? I wouldn't go that far, okay? Because number one, I would never want to cross paths with one of those individuals and them saying, hey, you thought I lacked technique? Now, listen, Wilder boxed beautifully, but he boxed in a way that makes sense for a guy with his abilities. He was hanging back, and you know one thing, yes, he was losing the rounds, but he seemed ultra confident that he was going to get that KO. Now, listen, he's KO'd every single man except Tyson Fury. He's literally like a 97% KO rate. You know, I didn't do the math, okay? But he's knocked out every single human being he's ever fought except one guy. So it's not crazy that he was that confident. Even though the rounds were passing by, he still had another few rounds to connect. And he wasn't trying to win a judge's decision. He's never won a judge's decision. The only time he ever went to the judges when it ended up in a draw. So for me, watching that fight, I was thinking, look, you know, this might be his first loss if he doesn't connect, obviously, because it would have been hard for him to catch up after those 6 rounds. And the further you take a fight down the road, the less likely there's going to be a KO with one big shot. Usually it's going to be a cumulative type of KO. But it wasn't. Wilder, he broke the mold. He did something that's unusual in boxing. Usually KOs will happen. KOs in that matter, where you flatten a guy out totally, usually happen earlier in the fight. Now, of course, in heavyweight boxing, it's not unusual for it to happen in the later rounds. It's not unusual. I'm just saying statistically, the chances drop a little bit. Ortiz was fighting a phenomenal fight. Brilliant fight. I think that the success he had in round 7, because he hurt Wilder a little bit, he got overly excited, which he just should have stayed on that path that he was on. He actually has a unanimous decision win over Stavern. Oh yes, that's correct. Actually, I know Stavern very well. Stavern trained. You're right. In their first matchup, he had a unanimous decision. Stavern trained for many years in my gym. Actually, I've worked with him early in his career when he was still amateur. Yes, that's correct. That is correct. He did. He was dethroned by Wilder. Stavern was champion, and then he lost the unanimous decision and had the rematch and got KO'd in the rematch. Wilder versus Prime Mike Tyson. That's from Gumby Y5. That is such a great question. And look, I'm going to tell you straight up, Mike Tyson. That's how great Mike Tyson was. Wilder is an incredible fighter, but Mike Tyson was another level. Mike Tyson didn't fight in the golden age of boxing, but his age of boxing was greater, in my opinion, than the current age we are in today. Okay? I'm not saying he was in the golden age of boxing like Ali was. Foreman, Ali, Frazier. That was, in my opinion, the golden age of heavyweight boxing. There's never been a greater age. Maybe in the future we'll see a greater age, but in my opinion, there was no greater age. Tyson just simply crushed everybody in his prime, and he was in a greater age. So I think I would pick Tyson. I think Tyson would eventually land those body shots. He'd be more active, and he'd put away Wilder. Tyson could knock you out with both hands. Wilder, it seems it's more about his right hand. He's got a cannon in the right hand. Would you say that Wilder is the hardest hitting heavyweight right now? That's from Underground Romer. Yes, I would say right now he's probably, yes, the hardest hitting heavyweight today. Yes. Is Wilder jumping into his punches kind of like Superman punch, explaining how he's generating this incredible power? That's from Floating Man. No, I wouldn't say that's why. I think he's probably born genetically with that power. And I'm just going to give you a quick reference what that means. Michael Kogan he wrote a book on power, like physical power, of course. Not, we're not talking about electrical power or anything like that. How athletes generate power. It's called the New Power Program. Actually, I think it's an excellent book. And he lists what is the criteria for power. And number 1 is how your ligaments and muscles are attached to your bone and the length of your bone, and which makes sense to me. To me, I think it makes total sense. If your muscle is attached a few millimeters higher up on your forearm, you're going to have more leverage on the bone. And depending how long the lever is, these are all things that are extremely important in terms of generating power. Of course, technique is super important. That's why he lists technique as number 2. However, number 1 was how your how your physiology is actually constructed, how long your levers are, where the tendons and muscles are attached. That you have no control over. Now, why do I think he's right about this? Because I've trained so many people. I've trained thousands and thousands of people. And some individuals hit harder than others, even though their technique is very comparable. So let's say they're both athletes, their technique is a B+. One of them still hits way harder. It's genetic. It's kind of like how some people have more natural endurance, how some people are naturally taller, how some people have naturally better reflexes. So I don't think it's like, for instance, Mike Tyson hits in a certain way. If you hit exactly like Mike Tyson biomechanically, if you copied him, if you recreated his exact movements, guys, it's not that complicated what he does. Like, it's not rocket science. Like, I can kind of closely mimic what he does, but I cannot generate anywhere near the same amount of power. It also has to do with other factors such as your muscle type, etc. Of course, technique is super important. I always refer back to what sprinting coaches say. We can make you fat. Excuse me. We can make you faster, but we cannot make you fast. Like, you have to already be born fast, and that will make you faster with our techniques and our coaching methods. We can make you faster. Power is very similar. I can make you hit harder, but I cannot make you hit hard. Okay, so let's just keep that in mind. Maybe in the future we do figure out, maybe somebody figures out how to generate KO power like Mike Tyson does, and we're just building one Mike Tyson after another. But until I see it, I don't believe it. You know, we're just at the level of understanding we have today. This is the maximum we know. And believe me when I tell you, I have researched it ad nauseum, and I've worked with so many great coaches. Power can be accentuated, but we cannot accentuate it to the level of a Mike Tyson or a Wilder. Joe Rogan, whoop, that's from Riva. Yes, sir. I think should be coming out tomorrow or the day after. Luis landed a few overhand lefts with his head ducking out, and Wilder missed. Oop, hold on, let me blow this up. And Wilder missed those counters completely. Do you think head movement is the key to take out Wilder? It seems that was what Fury used. That's from FIFA RXD. I agree with you. I think you have to, like, Ali, in my opinion, okay, I think a lot of you will agree with me. For those of you who know Ali's career, would beat a Wilder. He would beat a Wilder. In my opinion, he would beat Wilder. Why? He would be dancing around like Fury, but he was more accurate than Fury, and he was a better finisher, in my opinion, than Fury. And I know Fury has a lot of great finishes as well. I know he's a killer. Don't get me wrong. I just think Ali was another level. And he had something special about him. His reflexes were absurdly sharp. Like, he would circle towards that right hand that Wilder throws. Wilder would have to throw it so many times in the fight. He would counter Wilder. He would hurt Wilder. Like, in my opinion, Ali's just at another level. Now, look, I've seen, I've seen Stavern, Berman Stavern spar and train. Like, I get it. Stavern was a great fighter. Wilder beat him twice. But Ali is like, he's just another dimension. Being able to hit hard is less important than having a strong chin, question mark. That's from Underground Roamer. I don't know. That's kind of like, if you asked me, I would rather hit hard than have a great chin, because I would do everything. I would do what Fury does. I would do what Ali does, and just kind of wait for that time to knock you out. But I feel that it's a lot easier to develop floating like a butterfly than it is to develop stinging like a bee. Stinging like a bee is really innate, inborn. All right, what else we got here? I think Wilder is breakable in the head, psychology-wise. That's from Hassan Hayder. Very possible, but so far, in my opinion, against Luis Ortiz, he stayed very calm and cool and showed extreme confidence. So I'm not sure if I agree with that totally. I think we're going to have to see him in some adversity before we can make a comment, before we can be sure about that. Underground Ambassador. Plus Ngannou gasses from wrestling threats, no punching as much, it seems. Oh yeah, well, you guys were asking me about Ngannou. Actually, I really think Ngannou would do great in the heavyweight division. Can he win the title? That I don't know. However, he would be a very interesting mix. Why? Because he has that touch of death. Like, he has that touch of death, and it's scary. How would he do in boxing? I don't know, but man, would it be interesting? I would be tuning in. I don't care if it's $100 pay-per-view. I'm tuning in. So that's something I'd really like to see in the future. Black Friday on Juji Club. That's from Eric Kuhn. Eric, I haven't organized it, so unfortunately, I'm gonna have to say no. I'm sorry, I haven't organized it. I haven't thought of it. I've just been traveling. I just got back, and I'm shooting this video, then getting right back to my regular routine. I will be shooting some new DVDs. I promise you guys a minimum of 3 new DVDs, 3 new instructional videos in 2020. That is a promise. I will make 3 minimum. I'm aiming for 5. I'm not gonna say 5 because I don't want to eat my words. But in 2020, there will be 3 new instructionals. I promised it. Now I have to do it.